Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In March 2025, Hungary, a long-standing member of the European Union, stunned the world by making a dramatic pivot, turning away from Brussels, the heart of the EU's political power, and signaling a new era in its foreign policy. Instead of looking west, Hungary is now turning toward the BRICS bloc, a powerful coalition of emerging economies now led by China, and seeking new alliances that could reshape its future. This isn't just a policy dispute or a minor diplomatic spat, it's a direct challenge to the EU's unity and the Western order that has defined Europe since the end of the Cold War. Hungary's move is the culmination of years of escalating friction with EU institutions over issues like democracy, rule of law, and national sovereignty. Prime Minister Viktor Orban has repeatedly clashed with Brussels, arguing that Hungary's interests are being sidelined. By openly courting BRICS, Hungary is not only testing the limits of EU membership, but also signaling the possible end of the post-Cold War consensus that has held Europe together for decades. This is a bold gamble, with consequences that reach far beyond Budapest. The implications are huge. Hungary could gain access to new trade opportunities, fresh investments, and alternative sources of energy and technology by aligning with BRICS nations. But this new path also comes with serious risks. Hungary faces the possibility of isolation from its biggest trading partners, the loss of vital EU funding, and growing uncertainty for its citizens and businesses. For the European Union, Hungary's defiance is an existential threat. If Hungary succeeds in forging a new path, other countries disillusioned with Brussels may be tempted to follow, potentially unraveling decades of painstaking integration and cooperation. This is more than just Hungary's story. It's about the rise of China as a global power, and the shifting balance of influence in the world. We are witnessing the return of great power competition, as old alliances are tested, and new ones are forged in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. The world is searching for a new order, one that reflects the realities of a multipolar era, where influence is shared and contested by many. Understanding Hungary's move is key to understanding the uncertain future taking shape before us. The choices made in Budapest today could echo across continents for years to come. The world is watching as history unfolds, and the next chapter in Europe's story is being written right now. Hungary's journey in the EU began with hope in 2004, but soon soured. EU funds fueled growth, but Budapest under Viktor Orban saw Brussels as overreaching and undermining national sovereignty. Disputes erupted over immigration, judicial reforms, and media freedom, with Hungary defying EU consensus and maintaining ties with Russia. The 2023 Sovereignty Protection Law deepened the rift, as the EU accused Hungary of stifling democracy. Budapest painted Brussels as a hostile power, fueling a cycle of distrust and retaliation. With EU funds withheld and Hungary vetoing key decisions, relations hit a breaking point. Feeling cornered, Hungary began seeking powerful allies outside the EU. This set the stage for its dramatic pivot east. As Hungary clashed with the EU, it found itself increasingly at odds with the Western bloc's policies and priorities. This tension pushed Hungary to look for new alliances and opportunities beyond its traditional partners in Europe. At the same time, BRICS was evolving rapidly. What began as a loose coalition of emerging economies was now transforming into a major geopolitical force, with China taking a clear leadership role and setting the agenda for the group's future. The 2023 Johannesburg summit marked a turning point. BRICS expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, forming what is now known as BRICS Plus. This expansion signaled the group's ambition to become a truly global coalition, representing diverse regions and interests. With these new members, BRICS Plus now represents over 40% of the world's population and controls a massive share of global energy resources. Its influence stretches across continents, from Africa to the Middle East and Asia, making it a formidable player on the world stage. One of the bloc's shared goals is to reduce dependence on the Western-led financial system, especially the dominance of the US dollar. This ambition is driving efforts to create alternative financial networks and strengthen their own currencies. For example, China and Russia have begun trading in their own currencies, bypassing the dollar entirely. This move not only deepens their economic ties, but also challenges the traditional financial order. Meanwhile, China's CIPS payment system is emerging as a credible alternative to SWIFT, the global messaging network for financial transactions. This gives BRICS plus countries more autonomy and resilience in the face of Western sanctions. At the same time, BRICS plus central banks are stockpiling gold at unprecedented rates, fueling speculation about the possible launch of a new, commodity-backed currency that could rival the dollar and euro in international trade. For Hungary, which has faced mounting pressure from the West, BRICS Plus offers an appealing alternative. The bloc's growing influence provides Hungary with new diplomatic and economic options outside the EU framework. The rise of BRICS Plus is shifting the global balance of power, challenging the dominance of Western institutions and creating new centers of influence. Hungary sees opportunity in this new order, hoping to benefit from closer ties with BRICS Plus nations and diversify its international partnerships. As the world's economic center of gravity continues to move eastward, the choices Hungary makes now could shape its future for decades to come. In spring 2025, Hungary made its pivot official, announcing plans for deeper cooperation with BRICS Plus. This wasn't a sudden move. Hungary had already become a hub for Chinese investment and a key part of the Belt and Road Initiative. The timing was strategic. After a BRICS Plus summit in Russia and Trump's return to the White House, Europe looked divided and distracted. Brussels reacted with alarm, calling Hungary's move a grave threat to EU unity. For the first time, an EU member was openly aligning with a rival bloc. This act of defiance goes beyond past disputes. It's a direct rejection of EU solidarity. The question now, can the EU survive a member playing for the other team? Hungary's pivot is a test of the Union's resilience. The stakes for Europe have never been higher. Hungary's pivot is driven by economic calculation. BRICS Plus offers access to vast growing markets and the promise of investment from China and others. Embracing de-dollarization, Hungary hopes to insulate itself from Western sanctions and gain economic sovereignty. This means trading in yuan, joining new payment systems, and reducing reliance on Western-controlled institutions. But the risks are enormous. The EU is Hungary's biggest trading partner and source of funding. Alienating Brussels could mean losing access to the single market and vital EU funds. Hungary's leaders hope to bridge East and West, but analysts doubt the EU will tolerate a member acting as a Trojan horse for China and Russia. The pressure to choose sides is growing. Hungary may soon find it can't sit on two chairs at once. The gamble could reshape its future, or backfire spectacularly. Hungary's pivot is a crisis for the EU's core principle of unity. If one member can defy the bloc, others may follow, threatening decades of integration. Populist leaders in other countries are watching closely. If Hungary benefits, a multi-track Europe could emerge. Hungary's alignment with BRICS Plus could paralyze EU foreign policy, as unanimity is required for major decisions. The EU faces a dilemma: discipline Hungary and risk backlash, or do nothing and watch unity erode. Expulsion is nearly impossible, leaving the EU with a member undermining it from within. The trust and solidarity holding the EU together are at risk. Europe's future hangs in the balance. Hungary's move is part of a global shift from a US-led world to a chaotic, multipolar system. BRICS Plus expansion and Hungary's alignment show nations are seeking alternatives to Western dominance. Across Eurasia, China is drawing countries into its orbit with investment and diplomacy. Even EU and NATO members are hedging, creating overlapping and conflicting allegiances. The return of Trump has shaken faith in US security guarantees, prompting allies to look elsewhere. China sees Western divisions as a chance to expand its influence. Hungary is the first European domino to fall in this new great game. The world is splintering into competing blocs, with fractured supply chains and paralyzed institutions. The era of simple alliances is over. Uncertainty and risk are the new normal. Experts agree Hungary's move signals a multipolar world, but warn against predicting the West's collapse. While the shift is significant, it's important to understand the complexities involved. The global landscape is evolving, but the West remains a formidable force. The US dollar still dominates global finance, and BRICS Plus is far from a unified alliance. China and India, Saudi Arabia and Iran remain rivals. Despite their differences, these nations are finding common ground in their desire to challenge Western hegemony. BRICS Plus is united more by opposition to the West than by shared goals. This coalition is more about balancing power than creating a new unified front. Each member has its own agenda, making true unity elusive. China sees Hungary as a strategic foothold in Europe, advancing its long-term ambitions. This relationship is part of China's broader strategy to expand its influence across the globe. particularly in regions traditionally dominated by Western powers. Trump's return is a wild card. It could mean renewed trade wars or a weakened NATO. His unpredictable policies could further destabilize international relations, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile global environment. The likely future is not a new world order, but a fragmented system with multiple currencies and shifting alliances. This fragmentation could lead to increased economic volatility and uncertainty, affecting global markets and everyday lives. The clear lines of the Cold War are gone, replaced by a web of overlapping interests. Nations are now navigating a complex maze of alliances and rivalries, making international diplomacy more challenging than ever. Hungary's pivot is a case study in navigating this new landscape. By aligning with both Eastern and Western powers, Hungary is attempting to maximize its strategic advantages in a multipolar world. The world is more competitive, unpredictable, and transactional than ever. Nations are increasingly driven by self-interest, making global cooperation more difficult but also more essential. Hungary's gamble is a sign of the times. It reflects the broader trend of nations seeking to redefine their roles in a rapidly changing world, where old alliances are questioned and new partnerships are forged. Hungary's pivot to BRICS Plus is a watershed moment for Europe and a symbol of shifting global power. It's a high-stakes gamble, new opportunities, but also the risk of isolation from neighbors and the EU. The EU now faces a defining test: how to respond without fueling further division. The outcome will set the tone for European integration's future. Globally, Hungary's move signals the end of the unipolar era and the rise of great power competition. Nations everywhere are hedging bets and forging new alliances in a more fluid world order. Hungary's journey is a microcosm of the global struggle for sovereignty and influence. The choices made today will shape the map of the 21st century.